Let's bake a sourdough loaf on a schedule that works best for me and might work well for you too. My husband fed our sourdough starter somewhere between 7 and 7:30 this morning, and here it is at about 12:20, and I can see that it's doubled. Usually the recommendation is to wait until your starter has hit peak, but I'm already in the kitchen ready to make lunch, so I'm just going to get this out of the way now. In a glass bowl, I'm weighing out about 350 grams of water, 100 grams of sourdough starter, and I usually aim for 14 grams of salt, but a little over is okay. If you have a fancy sourdough whisk, now is when you'll use it to get all of your ingredients combined, but if you don't, a fork works just as well. Then I'm going to add in 500 grams of bread flour. I'm going to use my fork to do the initial combining, and then I'll get in there with my hands to do the rest. Resist the urge to add extra flour. This dough is supposed to be pretty sticky. I'm covering my bowl with a flour sack towel and then popping it into a warm corner. I'll come back to it when I'm back in the kitchen to cook dinner. It's about 5:14 and I'm doing my first round of stretch and folds. You can see that I have a little bit of crustiness. Totally fine, it'll fold right into the dough and it won't translate over into the loaf. Getting your hands just a little damp before stretch and folds is a great way to keep the dough from sticking to your hands really bad. We're aiming for 4 to 6 sets, roughly every 20 to 30 minutes. The timing doesn't have to be exact. I do mine whenever I have small pauses or breaks while I'm cooking dinner. I got to my second set of stretch and folds at roughly 5:40. I'm grabbing my third set at 6:04, my fourth set at 6:32, and my fifth set at 7:15. I had a bigger gap here because I took some time to eat dinner with my family. And I decided to bypass a sixth set and went ahead and started shaping at 7:55. I took the towel that I was using to cover my dough and plopped it into another clean bowl, and I'm going to use that bowl as my makeshift banneton. I'm giving my dough a little last work here, just letting it fold over in on itself a few times before I plop it out onto my counter to shape it. I'm slapping pretty side down onto my counter and stretching my dough into a rectangle. Don't forget to add some rice flour into your banneton to prevent your dough from sticking. Anywho's, now I'm going to tri-fold my dough before I roll it up and start using that hook motion to pull my dough nice and tight. As you're shaping your dough, make sure you watch the skin for any signs of possible breakage. If it looks like there might be some breakage, you want to stop right then. With the pretty side down, I'm popping my dough into my banneton and sprinkling some rice flour on top. I'm going for an oval shape here, so I'm pinching my dough a little bit before I grab 2 sides of my flour sack towel and pull them in tight and lay the other 2 over gently. I'm going to let this cold proof in my fridge for 24 to 48 hours before I'm ready to bake. It's now baking day and I like to open bake. Any pan that you can bake at 500 degrees Fahrenheit or higher is going to be perfect, but I prefer using my cast iron. I arranged my oven racks with one in the middle and one directly under it. My cast iron goes on top and a cookie sheet with water goes directly under it. The hard water stains on mine show exactly where I fill my water to. With everything in and ready to go, I'm preheating my oven to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the oven was preheated, I tossed my dough into the freezer for 30 minutes. This allows the oven to get nice and steamy, and it's going to give my loaf some really nice spring. Once that 30 minutes had passed, I pulled my dough back out of the freezer and pulled my hot cast iron out. I'm plopping my dough ugly side down directly onto my pan. I'm then giving this a good dusting with some all-purpose flour before I outline how I want to score my loaf. I'm doing my decorative scoring, but saving my deep scoring for 10 minutes into my bake. I'm keeping today's design super simple. And now that that's done, I'm dropping my oven temp to 450 and letting this bake for 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes passed, I went ahead and did my deep score. Back into the oven it goes for another 20 minutes. Then I'm dropping the temp to 400 and baking for another 15. And here she is. I'm going to let her cool for a few hours before I cut into her. And there you have it. Enjoy!